on September 22nd, 2020. If we could have a roll call, please. Dorothy?
Mike Bebo. Sheriff Brennan.
Here.
Kevin Alioki.
Here.
Bill Hagstrom.
Here.
Erica Kurtz.
Here.
Thank you. Clark Schroeder.
Here.
Doug Jennings. Okay. Robin Ruckert.
Here.
And then myself, Dorothy Tank. Liz Zott. Anybody from the Daily Press? Okay, we do have a quorum.
All right, thank you. I do see we have a 715-681-0672. Could you identify yourself, please?
This is Supervisor Huber.
Okay. County Board Supervisor Huber's on the line also. Thank you. Just so we know who's out there in case we need to talk to anybody. The next on the agenda, we have the approval of the agenda. Have a motion for approval of the agenda?
I'll make a
think
motion,
Bill-
Kevin.
Kevin made a motion,
I'll second it.
seconded by Bill Hagstrom. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay. Public comment. Do we have anybody on the line? I would like to have a 3-minute public comment related to hazardous materials. Give it one more second here. Okay, not hearing anybody here for public comment. We'll move on to item 4. The approval of the March 14, 2019 LEPC meeting minutes. Everybody's had a chance to review those. If there's any additions or any comment or any discussion needed for that? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the March 14, 2019 LEPC meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion. Erica.
Motion by Erica. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Chief Hagstrom. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed? All right, motion's carried. LEPC administrative requirements, the upgrade planning grant. The first thing we have on there is the annual review and approval of the LEPC bylaws. And Dorothy, take her away.
Okay, is my screen, can everybody see my screen?
No.
No? Okay, bear with us for a minute.
You may have to request sharing from Taylor.
Say, let's see,
I-
share screen, which one are you, oh, I got enabled, hold on.
Welcome to the world of Zoom. Clark's an expert on this Zoom stuff here, by the way. He's been doing these meetings. I think he does them in his sleep, actually. But we're kind of struggling being the host on this here, so bear with us for just a little bit. While we're looking at that, I have a 682-7017 that logged on. 7017. Could you identify yourself, please?
Yes, this is Lisa Radke with UW Extension.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we're looking at your screen now, Dorothy.
Okay, thank you. Just so that everybody sees what I am referring to, it is a requirement for this meeting for the Local Emergency Planning Committee to be held at least one annual meeting a year. And one of the requirements is to review our bylaws. And I'm hoping everybody had an opportunity to at least kind of cruise through the bylaws here that was uploaded to the Google Drive, and we need to every year again look and update and approve our bylaws. Did anyone have any indications that they saw anything that needed to change, they wanted anything added?
I'll give you a couple of minutes here, or a minute if you want to review it. I'm not sure if everybody had the opportunity to review that or not. It was sent out earlier by Dorothy, I think, for the agenda items.
Looks good to me.
Okay. No discussion needed on that. If not, I'll have a motion to approve the LEPC bylaws.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Bill Hagstrom,
I'll second that.
second by Robin. All those in favor? Aye.
All right.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Designate the compliance inspector.
Now, the
Now, this
reason that is on there is, again, as a requirement, it needs to be noted somewhere in our meeting minutes, as well as possibly in our bylaws. And I'm trying to scroll. I don't mean to make anyone dizzy by going through the meeting minutes or bylaws real quick, but to show it's a requirement that I show in my plan of work that our LEPC has designated this person somewhere. So it is both located in our bylaws that we refer this position to the state of Wisconsin. We have no one here at the local level that fulfills that requirement. As we go into the next item, and Mick, I'll just kind of take this over at this point on this next topic, is going through the contact information, and we'll see that on the LEPC meeting, or excuse me, LEPC membership list, I've also identified the LEP inspector as being the state. So we've got that identified in two separate locations that should clearly fulfill that requirement for the state. So I'll turn it back to you, Mick.
Okay. The next item on that is the update to the LEPC membership list. Everybody's got a chance to look that over to see if there's any corrections or deletions that need to be made on their on the membership list, or anybody that's no longer going to be able to serve on this committee. Speak up now.
The one question, Bill, that I had for you is if I have your contact, your office contact, as the correct number currently.
Yep, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, looks like everybody's all up to date on that. If there's not, you can review it over and contact Dorothy by email. We can make any changes that need to be made on that at any time. Publication of annual public notice.
Okay, just
That's
put
all.
this on the agenda just so that people, again, are to refresh your memory that it is a requirement of the local emergency planning committee that we put a notice in the paper advising the public that they have the opportunity to come into the Office of Emergency Management and review any of our emergency plans related to our planning facilities. So this is the affidavit of publication that was in the paper in the Ashland Daily Press on September 4th. The actual, you'll see that here. I'm not sure if I can turn that at this point, but it was in the Ashland Daily Press. Here's the article. There's very specific things that need to be put in the article. And one thing, since Bayfield County Emergency Management, as well as Ashland County, use the same paper, Jan and I alternate years in printing, putting the publication in the paper, but we provide both of our information in there. So in 2020 was my year. I'm usually the even years. Jan is usually the odd numbered years. That's how we had this set up. So I just wanted to bring it to your attention that we have also met that requirement, and this is what the cost is for that printing that comes out of emergency management budget. Any questions on that? Okay.
Okay, thank you, Dorothy. We'll move on to item 6 on our agenda. It's the approve the Ashland County countywide hazardous material strategic plan.
Now, I'll give you a little background as a refresher and for anyone that is new to the local emergency planning committee, that the strategic plan is a requirement for any county that has a hazmat team. The Ashland Fire Department is the hazmat team for Ashland County. So for that reason, we have to have a plan, and this plan is also a requirement in one of our next items when we get into the computer hazmat grant approval. But this is a plan that covers, here's the table of contents. I'm not sure if everybody has the opportunity to read through the plan, but it covers quite a bit of material, everything that is required in the plan. There is a record of changes, page 16, and I'll try not to kind of scroll down real quick to that page to show what those changes were. This plan was updated earlier this year because it is a requirement for the computer hazmat grant. So in May of this year, this plan was updated in consultation with Kevin Alioki, who is the hazmat coordinator for the Ashland Fire Department. And these are the things that had been updated. The LEPC membership list, that is included in the plan. What exercises were done, the hazmat team members. So Kevin provides an updated list of the status of the Ashland Fire Department, at what level their training is. And because of the equipment, this is related to hazmat equipment purchases, I just keep an updated list of what has been purchased in previous years. In the past, people wanted to know what that is. I thought this was kind of a way of keeping track of that. Also, one of the things the fire department does with the grant is periodically, when there is an appropriate need for it, they use the money to purchase equipment for the volunteer fire department. And Kevin, I don't know if there's anything you would care to add, comments you would like to add to that.
No, I think you hit it all on the head right there. Pretty easy.
Does anyone have any comments, questions?
I guess I have one, Dorothy, on page 7, where it has a master list of facilities in Ashland County subject to 302 emergency planning requirements.
Page
Is that
7?
what- is that
Okay.
Page 7, right there. Would L&M have to report that with the battery, or if they have out there? Is that something that they need to have?
Very good question. They actually were doing their calculations wrong. They were on the list initially, and I was working with them to write their plan. However, in doing research and in working with whoever they do on their end, realized that they were looking at not just the amount of sulfuric acid in their batteries, they were calculating the total amount of liquid in the batteries. So once they figured out their air, they no longer met the requirements for the threshold for sulfuric acid in their batteries. So they no longer are required to be a planning facility at this point in time. Now, if their tier 2 reporting increases and that falls again higher over, I think it's 1,000 pounds for sulfuric acid, they could then very easily become a planning facility again. All of these here are planning facilities due to the amount of sulfuric acid due to the amount of batteries in their facility. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you. I didn't know if it was an oversight or if it was something that does explain it. Thank you.
Any other questions on the plan?
Okay, hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the Ashland County Countywide Hazardous Material Strategic Plan as presented.
I'll make a motion. This is Erica.
Motion by Erica, second by
I'll second it.
seconded by Chief Hagstrom. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Number 7 on the agenda, it's the acknowledge or approve the 2020 EPGRA Computer Hazmat Equipment Grant Application and Purchases.
As I had indicated on the countywide strategic plan, that is a requirement when applying for the computer hazmat grant. The computer hazmat grant is referred to as a county grant. The purpose of the computer portion, let me back up a moment. There's 2 portions to this grant. There's the computer portion and then the hazmat portion, hazmat equipment portion. The computer portion of the grant is in support of the county Office of Emergency Management and all of the planning activities related to their requirements. The purpose of the Hazmat Response Equipment Fund is to supplement their local funding for their hazmat response. So this year went a little bit different. I think it was because of COVID. We have already moved forward with our plans. Kevin, I believe you have ordered all your equipment. I'll talk just briefly about on the computer side of things. I've already purchased a laptop. That was the need that I saw for this year. We work on, the grant is on a 4-year cycle. That 4-year cycle has run from 2016 to 2020. That is, so this is the 4th year of a 4-year cycle. Next year, it will start a new cycle. With that cycle, there is 1 year out of the 4 years that the County Emergency Management Office can order and use up to $6,000. Everything, all the other 3 years, the maximum purchase is $2,000. So the next year we'll start a new cycle, and okay, I lost my train of thought there for a moment. So what what I'm showing you here is we break this down into, we go through a process with the state, a pre-application process. So we show what the computer portion is, what the hazmat portion is, and then turn that into the state and kind of go through a process of what we what we want to purchase. On the hazmat side of things, I always try to have Kevin order more items or have the so that when they tell us how much we will get, he has kind of a way to look at what he wants to order and gives him some play with his figures so he can maximize that amount. If there's an opportunity, and even if Kevin goes over, which has happened the last few years, that comes out of his budget. And then a lot of times, as the last couple of years, counties that don't use that full amount of their grant through their purchase, they purchase under the amount they're awarded. There's a redistribution. And Ashland Fire, because their purchases are a little bit more or over their grant allotment, they then get a redistribution amount. So that's how we try to play that game to maximize the grant. Now, on the computer side of things, just so everybody's aware, the county is, and the Office of Emergency Management is eligible for that portion, even if for some reason the county were to decide not to have a hazmat team. The county would still be eligible for the computer portion. They are not, it is not one grant. It is one grant that has two segments, but they don't have to both be together. Right now, and for as long as the hazmat team was adopted, I think that was back in, Kevin, you can maybe help me, 93 maybe, this whole hazmat team concept, we have moved forward with both components of the grant. So from the computer side of things, this year I purchased a laptop. And Kevin, maybe you want to talk a little bit about the hazmat side of things.
So what we ended up doing this year was we kind of piggybacked off of last year's. We gave each fire department in the county a gas sniffer, which means it's designed to sniff natural gas and propane leaks in their jurisdictions. So we gave them each a gas sniffer last year. Well, this year we added a calibration kit to it so they can actually calibrate their meters in-house now. And it was just a cost factor on that one. Then we also ordered a new decon shower for when we go on calls wise. Our shower is actually, the old one we had was from 1996. So we updated it with a new one. And then we also bought some level A suits because our suits need to get replaced every 5 years. And the cost of these is about $970 a piece. So we try to offset that every couple of years between the different counties. And this time it was a go through with Ashland County. So that's why you'll see those three things that we tried to purchase right there.
And that's what I have up on the screen here is the decon shower. This is the grant application that breaks that down. The computer, that emergency management for the maximum amount of $2,000, and then it goes into the gas meters on the hazmat side and the level A suits. So at this point, does anybody have any questions regarding this grant? It is something we pursue every year as a very kind of a cost-effective way of getting equipment.
Hearing no questions or any other discussion on this? A motion to approve the computer and hazmat equipment grant?
I'll make a motion to approve it. It's Erica.
Thank you, Erica. Second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Chief Hagstrom. Thanks, Bill. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Moving along on number 8, approval of the 4 off-site plans that we have.
Okay, as you noticed, and something that the sheriff had identified in the strategic plan, there are 4 planning facilities, and each planning facility has to update their plan annually. At the present time, only 2 of the 4 have fulfilled that requirement, and that's Xcel Energy, and as you go through this document, the second one is Breddings. So both of those facilities will be in compliance for updating their plan. The other two facilities, Walmart and CenturyLink, technically will have till September 30th to get their plan into me. So at this point in time, all we can really approve is the two that have been submitted by the time of this meeting. And I would be open for recommendations how you want to proceed in handling the other two.
Who would be responsible for contacting them, Dorothy, and what is the penalty for noncompliance?
Well, I have already sent the other two non-compliant facilities notice on this. Initially, when they received the update, they acknowledged in the email because they had preferred to receive their updates by email. So when I sent it out to them, they both acknowledged having received it. I sent an email indicating that they were now overdue and have not received any type of acknowledgement. So at this time, I really can't speak to other than Wisconsin Emergency Management. The EPCRA section will be on me to keep pressuring them to get their plan updated. And after September 30th, they will be out of compliance with updating their plan.
But Dorothea, this is Clark. I have a question. So if they submit their plan before the 30th, is this an administrative approval that you can approve this as emergency management director for the county, or does this committee have to approve it?
Technically, the committee needs to approve it, or it would be best to have the committee's approval. And I've been trying to think about this. If we establish, approving these two plans, and if the other two come in before the 30th, developing a process of how to address those other two would be helpful for me to have some guidance on.
I might recommend that since you were reviewing the bylaws, so the bylaws address the issue concerning the availability of the Director of Emergency Management to approve the plans with ratification at a following meeting at some point.
I realized that. I wasn't sure. I thought there was some notice in there too that we could do that electronically. If I sent this out by email, or if everybody had a chance to review and we could do an email approval. If not, that's fine too.
Okay, any other discussion on that?
Well,
So, go ahead.
so it sounds like, Clark, what you're saying is the only option we have is to, on September 30th, if I have one plan or both plans, is to have a very short meeting with this one item, correct?
Well, my other option here is we could just offer a motion before we approve these two plans. Make a motion that if these plans do come in by the 30th, that we authorize Dorothy to approve these plans with ratification at the next regularly scheduled meeting. That would be a motion that I would offer.
Since we only do these one time a year, will everybody feel comfortable with that? Because we will be kind of doing that for next year's process too. So we're kind of.
So if I understand, the motion on the table would be to approve the two site plans that we have that are in compliance at this time, and to continuously approve the other two, Walmart and, what was the other one, Dorothy?
CenturyLink.
CenturyLink. If they were in compliance by September 30th, giving Dorothy the authorization to go ahead and submit that as a approval by the committee itself. That make sense?
That's the motion.
We are recording this, correct? I'll never get that down otherwise.
I've got it recorded too.
Yes, we are recording.
All right, so that's the motion on the table. I'll entertain a motion.
I think we're just looking for a second because I made a motion, so we're just looking
Okay.
for a second.
I'll
I'll
second.
second it. Erica.
Thank you.
Motion by Clark, seconded by Erica. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Dorothy, did you have something else you wanted to say? Look like I interrupted you.
No, I was just agreeing or voting.
All right, I just wanted to make sure. Number 9 on the agenda is the discussion action of 2019 EPCRA Hazmat response equipment. Now, the background on this, Kevin and Dorothy are the presenters on this one.
Kevin, this is where I'm going to refer to you at explaining the situation with the piece of equipment from last year's Hazmat grant.
Okay, so like I said earlier, we had bought these gas sniffers for every fire department. They're about $358. And the stipulation was that each fire department had to have a representative come to Ashland Fire. We would train them for 10 to 15 minutes on how to use this meter. It was very simple. Turned out to be, after numerous times with Bad River Fire Department, actually reached out to their chief independently. He actually had times set up, 2 different times to show up at the fire station and never showed up. Now this machine has been operable, sitting in a box for over a year now, with numerous attempts of Bad River Fire Department to come pick up this meter and never have. My biggest fear is with this meter not being used for a year, I, 1, don't want to give it to him because I don't know if it's going to work effectively. And 2, what my option is I'd rather take it, fix it, and put it in play with Ashland Fire. So we'd actually have 2 of these meters now. So we're getting more and more busier. It'd be nice to have a second meter. So what I actually relayed to Dorothy is that I would like to notion to the group here if we could actually take Bad River's meters, since we have tried numerous attempts through emails and phone calls, and not give them the meter and actually give it back to Ashland Fire Department. So that's where this all comes from.
Okay, is there any discussion on that? Any concerns, discussion? Okay, hearing none, I guess the motion was to reappropriate the compressed gas indicator purchase with the 2019 grant and reappropriate that to the Ashland Fire Department. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep, that's correct.
right, I entertain that motion. That motion was by Kevin, seconded by
I'll second it.
Chief Hagstrom. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. That equipment is now belonging to the Ashland Fire Department. And number 10 on our agenda is to discuss ideas for a hazardous material exercise. And Dorothy, your way.
Every year, emergency management, through their emergency planning and community right to know act grant, on a 4-year cycle is required to conduct or participate in 2 hazmat related exercises. And this is because we are not very active with either our LEPC or our planning facilities have not been interested because of the sulfuric acid being the extremely hazardous substance that they're dealing with. Not real interested in being the host of an exercise. I always struggle with what kind of an exercise we can do here that is not just going through the motions, but how we can be producing an exercise that not only meets the requirements for emergency management, but also is beneficial for everybody involved. And so I would like to throw it out to the LEPC to see if there's any ideas and maybe something that we can do in the next couple of years. Now, 2020 is the first of a 4-year cycle. So we do have several years before this requirement, 2 years or 2 exercises need to be met, but it is always a challenge. So kind of throwing that out if anybody had any great, wonderful ideas.
I would recommend the fall of 2020, sometime after November would be good.
And what would you like as the exercise? That
I'm
is,
sorry, fall of 2022, not 2020, 2022.
okay, I know where you're going on that one.
That scared me for a minute there.
I exercised May of 23.
Kevin.
Nice try, gentlemen.
Wouldn't anything that that we have going on for COVID related be able to count as a real life exercise rather than having to set up something extra? This is Liz, by the way. I apologize for being late. I was locked out for a while.
Welcome, Liz. It has to be hazardous materials related.
Yeah, Liz, it meets the hospital's criteria for a real event. So yeah, we are counting it. But yeah, for hazmat, definitely this doesn't. But I do know that the hospital would entertain playing because we do need to, we would be interested in doing a hazardous event. It is on our HVA. It's always on our HVA.
Do you do any of those regularly?
No.
Okay. So more than likely we might need to maybe start out with some kind of a tabletop and then go into a functional, or were you thinking of doing some kind of a drill? I mean, not that you have to answer those, but these are some things we can at least kind of be thinking about.
I'm thinking about when we did the active shooter at Reddings. That was probably almost 6 months to a year in the making. So I think if we started meeting about this, this winter, I mean, we could probably do one in the spring of 2022. Wouldn't you agree, Kevin?
Yeah, that would work.
Okay. Because something that would, have obviously multiple disciplines, law enforcement, fire, hazmat, hospital, everything, emergency management. Having elected officials in there because their decision-making role or what their involvement might be would also be good to think about also.
So the idea for a hazardous material exercise, so are we talking like having a traffic crash involving, a tanker truck hauling something, or are we talking like a fire at one of our facilities that are on our list, or what are you thinking here?
It could be any of those.
Mm-hmm.
Nick,
If
I always
one of
felt
the
that,
facilities wants to do, a fire or something, it's only beneficial to them because they get to practice some of that also.
Robin, did I hear you wanting to say something?
yeah, thank you. I'm always heading back to Washburn every day, right? So I'm driving by the lakefront and I'm like, geez, how easy is it to drive off the highway, and whether it's something simple where a driver falls asleep, which I've seen down on Highway 51 happen. I just think that would be a multi-level emergency that potentially could affect a large area. I appreciate we got a lot of water there, but that could really cause some problems here for Ashland and area communities in addition to the Great Lakes.
Yeah, well, this is Clark. One of the thoughts I had was you know, what if we, not that I want to jump into the circus here, but what if we were to do a pipeline spill? I mean, you're going to be theoretically having a pipeline go through the county. We already do, frankly, but what if that were to break open? What is the hazardous response to that? Now, I know they obviously, the company that owns these pipelines has their own response teams and all those things. Is there anything that we'd want to coordinate on between their plan or our plan to make sure that if something did happen, we're all singing out of the same hymn book?
I think that's a definite possibility.
It may be very controversial. Obviously, there'd be a lot of,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it might be distracting for, you know, for the operation itself, but it might provide a more, you know, at the end result, it might provide some level of confidence. I don't know. It's a risky endeavor to engage in basically social, you know, controversial issues like this, but it is something that could happen.
Well, I agree. It's something that definitely could happen. My only concern of that would be if we were to do an exercise based on a spill, you know, what type of, I don't know, what kind of message are we sending out that, you know, hey, we anticipate that this could happen. And I don't know. I understand that that's out there, but having it to where citizens would be like that are for it, be saying that, oh, you know, this is not going to happen, or the ones that Ashland County is already preparing for the spill. You know, this is another reason why we shouldn't have it in our county. I don't know. I'm up with the rest of the committee wants to do, but I would just be kind of a concern.
I recall that we had the natural gas company come in and provide us education and presentation, desktop more so. I thought they were very well prepared for an event like that. I appreciate it's an education event for everyone.
Kevin, do you have any idea what the pipeline's requirements are for training and things like that?
Just a backstory on this. Last year, Ashland Fire was chosen as one of 3 agencies in the country by the International Association of Fire Chiefs out of Virginia. And we actually did a pipeline incident at the firehouse here where we actually had Trans-Canada. We had representatives from Texas, Canada, the hospital, local emergency government from 2 counties. And we did a pipeline incident on that one, and we had some takebacks and some feedbacks from it. I myself personally didn't get much out of it. And the only reason why I say that is that pipelines, when they have an incident, they're going to have their own team. So literally the only thing that came about of that is that us as Ashland Fire Hazmat team would be notified. We would start an evacuation process, and then we're done. So it really didn't do much for the fire department or the Hazmat team for playing wise, because they have their own entities and their own response teams. So if we did something, I like Robin's idea of taking a semi, rolling it. And we actually did that probably about 10 years ago now. We actually rolled one down, simulated by the hot pond. It was out of the way. We were able to block off the exit to XL, and it worked out really good. And we piggybacked that with the hospital so they could actually get their requirements too. Something like that would be good again. The only reason why I say it would be good is that, again, this could happen, but we could also get the Coast Guard involved with this and kind of make it a bigger multi-agency. But if we did go that route, I think we're going to have to look at that. This would definitely be a 3-year process, which, I mean, next year we would probably do the tabletop. Mm-hmm. The year after, we would then look at setting it up and then getting the functional put into that. But we see more product being transported by highway than we can ever imagine. So that would just be my take on it.
Good. I mean, I would be very much up for that idea also. And I think we could get offer any fire departments that want to, you know, participate in this also, from extending that invite out to them too. So, okay, I appreciate all the suggestions, and so that you all know, you're all going to be part of a planning team for the exercises. So that's all I have, unless somebody else has anything else to add to either the exercise discussion or anything else we've touched on?
Liz, you came in just a little bit late. I don't know if you had anything or any questions or any input or anything. I'll just give you an opportunity to address us.
I didn't have anything additional at this time. No, thank you.
All right, thank you. Do we have any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved by Clark.
Clark,
I'll second that.
seconded by Chief Hagstrom. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, meeting adjourned at 11:46 a.m. on September 22nd, 2020. Thanks, everybody, for
Thank you.
attending.
Thank you.
Stay
Have a
safe.
great day.
Stay safe, be healthy.
Thank you.